Hi guys, welcome to the 35th episode of the Junkie podcast. If this is your first time joining me, thanks so much for checking me out. And if you're a returning viewer, thanks so much for subscribing. I haven't mentioned this because it's just not something I pay that much attention to, but I have over 1,000 subscribers now, guys. That's a big deal to me. Like when I started this almost a year ago, I thought maybe like 5 people would watch, if that, seriously. Thanks so much for being supportive. Thanks so much for communicating with me, being my friends. I've made so many fantastic friends, both in real life and online in the past year, thanks to knitting and putting myself out there more, going to knit night and doing this podcast. So thanks for being a part of that. If you have been subscribed for a while, or even if you are a first-time viewer, thanks for taking the time to check me out, like I said. I live in Texas with my house full of animals. We have 3 dogs, some chickens, a snake that I will be showing later. I mentioned him, and a couple of people said, hey, it'd be great if you showed him on the podcast. And then a few people said, if you show him on the podcast, make sure you warn us. So I will show him at the very end. That way all the knitting content is handled, and then you cannot stay if you don't like snakes. This is a mostly knitting podcast. I also dabble in all the yarn crafts, weaving, crocheting, spinning, but knitting is my main hobby right now. So I've been doing the Mother's Day Cal with Naughty Knitwits podcast. Leslie and Michelle, they kind of felt bad because they said that they really didn't do anything for the knit along. Y'all knitted along. Y'all both finished an object, which is way better than I did. Let me show you guys. So I've talked about my bag a bunch. Got it from Knit Picks. If this is your first time joining me, it kind of caught there for a sec. It's never done that. I did have a change of heart on my yarn colors for my shawl. And one of the biggest reasons why I don't have more done on this is because it was probably a little ambitious to decide to bead a whole shawl. I'm going to love the finished result. It's probably just going to take me months maybe months to complete. But as you can see, every couple of rows has a whole line of beading. But I really love the yarn I'm using. And as I was looking at project pages, the ones that used a different color for the border, if you don't know what I'm knitting, it's the Whispering Pines by Molly of a Homespun House. Molly Platt Designs on Ravelry. It's a paid-for pattern, and it has this triangular textured section and then this lace border. And I was going to do the lace border in this green color because it's supposed to look like pine trees, and I just thought it would look like snowfall and pine trees. But the more I looked at other people's projects and patterns, Lucy's right there, but she's actually blocked by my blocking mat. Not just for shawls, also for blocking dogs. The more I looked at people's Ravelry projects, the more I liked the border if it was a coordinating color as opposed to just some harsh contrast. So I've had this in my stash for quite a while. It was my first skein of Dream in Color Smushy, and all the skeins I've had have done this to me. Dream in Color Smushy with cashmere. They break while I'm winding them from the Swift. Explain that? I don't know. But I've had this. I got this in a yarn shop in New Orleans when my husband and I were visiting there, and it has been cast on and ripped out a great number of many things. So last week I showed you guys my Dale socks, but while my floats were even, they weren't stretchy enough to be socks. My Fair Isle wasn't going to be stretchy enough, so I ripped them out, and I decided I'll just use this as the border on my shawl. Maybe like turquoise trees. Won't that be pretty? So I've literally done 1 row repeat since last time. I moved my stitch marker down, my progress keeper from the Naughty Knitty by Nature shop on Etsy. I moved it down and then knit. And I would probably have a lot more done on this, but it's just, I have to do it at the table, and that's not where I want to knit. I knit a lot in the car, I knit a lot in bed. So it's just not getting done. But thank you so much to Leslie and Michelle for keeping the group active and chatting about their shawls that they made. Like I said, they both completed a shawl. Michelle so kindly donated a prize. She's going to hold on to it, and I'll draw from the group and then let her know, and she'll ship it to you. It's a skein of Wool and Vine yarn in a project bag. So I'll be sure to, she sent me a picture, and I'll post it in the group so you guys can see. And I also, so you get 2 prizes. 2, you are eligible if you post something. And I first said shawls, but honestly, if you knit something from April 1st to the end of May, so the cal has like 2 or 3 more days left for your mom or some mom in your life, and you want to enter it, so socks, shawls, gloves, whatever you knit your mom for Mother's Day, enter it into the cal. It's just a Mother's Day cal. So I said shawl because I knit a shawl, and there were a lot of shawls posted, but you guys just enter it. You could win a project bag and a skein of yarn. So this project bag was donated by my awesome viewer, Sonia. Her daughter has an Etsy shop, and here's that information again for you to check out. And it's a very large bag. I would say medium large. Probably 3 skeins of yarn could fit in here. And I went ahead and put in a skein of yarn from my stash. So this was a gift from Melissa of the Knitting by Nature Etsy shop. And it's Space Cadet yarns, 100% superwash merino, and it's 490 yards. So that would be a beautiful shawl and project bag. So you are ready to go. All you need is needles and a pattern. I will be drawing for a winner over the weekend, and I will announce it on my next podcast. So there will be 2 winners from the FO, 1 from the FO and 1 from the chatter thread. How about we do it that way? That's good. That way, if you didn't finish like me, you still have a chance of winning. How awesome is that? Oh, what else, guys? I talked about my shawl progress. I ripped out my Dale socks. When I ripped out, I just want to say thank you again first to Naughty Knitwit and Leslie and Michelle for joining me in donating prize and knitting along. Because seriously, even if y'all don't feel like y'all did a lot, I feel like y'all knit along with me. And all the other people that knit too. That was just a lot of fun, and I hope we can do more knit alongs. If you have a suggestion for a knit along, let me know. I am more than open to hosting more if there's a particular pattern or something that y'all want to make. I was thinking about doing one in July for like a knit miss in July. So more on that later. Since I ripped out my Dale socks, I wanted to cast on an easy pair of socks just to knit socks, because y'all know me and I've got to have socks on the needles. So I cast on for a pair of Rose City rollers and finished one. So I have a hoe. Yay! And it actually does not fit me. It's going to be a trellis sock. I have finally learned that I'm not a size 0 sock knitter. I probably need a size up to a 1. I just keep knitting myself socks that are too tight. Y'all remember the rainbow socks? Those don't even fit a trello really. So here's another one of my amazing stitch markers from the Nitty by Nature Etsy shop. I actually have her card right here too. It's a Deadly Hollows, you guys! And I actually just got something in the mail. Did I bring it over? From her shop. Maybe I'll stumble across it in a minute. I sure hope so. I sure hope I brought it over. But this yarn, the reason why I decided rollers is because I didn't have a lot of this left. This is Brazen Stitchery District 12 Harmony Sock. And I've had this yarn in my stash for about a year. And if you have been watching for a while, I started a pair of socks with this about a year ago, and my gauge was off and they were too tight. So I ripped them out and gave away some minis of this yarn, and then was freaking out that I didn't have enough for a full pair of socks. So I knit a roller. I love this pattern. if you're new to socks, this is it's a free sock pattern, and it's a great one to get you started because you're not knitting this entire leg, and it gives you all the steps that you need to know. So you've got your heel flap and gusset construction, picking up stitches, all that. You're knitting your toe. I love this pattern and I cannot recommend it enough. I've knit several pairs of Rose City rollers and I have several more plans for yarn I currently have. And I did the modify, I have partridge heel because I like that better. But overall, I really enjoyed knitting these and they flew off the needles, or this one. I kind of have second sock syndrome. One thing I will say, I originally got this black Knit Pick Stroll fingering yarn for contrasting heels and toes for this yarn. And when I started it, it was horrific. Like I was knitting on Cardigans DPNs and I couldn't even see the yarn stitches at all. And I felt like it was too contrasting to go with this yarn. The black was too contrast to the red. And I had this shawl complete. So I popped in this brown, which is Madeline Tosh Pecan Hole, and I feel like that just was made to go together. I love it so much. So, yeah, and that's all in my little Diane Couture project bag that I picked up at DFW Fiberfest. And I think she calls it a yarn owl. I have her card. So, I really love the tree print. Tree prints are my favorite. Nature is my favorite. So that's all I have to say about that. I'm getting my tea bag out now. So 1 second while I take a sip of my tea. I meant to bring the box over. I'm drinking Celestial Black Cherry Tea. I love it so much. It is so, so tasty. Out of my Maryland mug that my friend Trisha sent me of the Extravagant Creations. She's on Instagram. I want to say she changed her Instagram name though. It's like Extravagant something. I chipped it because I chip everything. Terrible. I'm the worsted. That is like the cutest thing that Jenny of the Lone Larch podcast does in the world. I'm the worsted. Totally taking that phrase, Jenny. Hope you don't mind. I find it so cute and hilarious. So what else, guys? Oh, let me say thank you for patterns. I need to talk about my shawl that I'm wearing because I finished it. I have a finished object that I didn't even freaking talk about. Sorry, guys. But let me thank you. I got a couple of patterns gifted to me. That was so exciting. So Knitting Nana 68 and I were chatting back and forth about my comment about the gnomes. If you remember, I was showing off my featherweight that, again, I have not made a ton of progress on. I have to show this off. Again, Knitty by Nature, Melissa, sent me this amazing pin. What the Felt? That is about as cute as I'm the worsted. What the Felt is also my new, I think that's going to be the title. What the Felt? Okay, so, and this is my Miss Brown's bag. Jody is so freaking amazing. Oh, totally threw my bag on the ground, guys. So, I was talking about my featherweight, and I was pointing out my little gnome progress keeper that I made. I just picked up the charm at like Hobby Lobby, I think this one came from. So I knit all this at knit night the other night. I've decided my featherweight's my knit night project because stockinette's the easiest thing and it's taking forever. But Knitting Nana commented on my little gnome thing and sent me a pattern. No place like gnome. So thank you so much, Knitting Nana. That was so much fun to get that. And I really can't wait to cast on that pattern. I think that actually if I have any of this District 12 left, that's a perfect gnome hat, isn't it? Because he has his little hat and his little face, and I have some cream that will be perfect. So that was just so much fun. And while I have this out, I'll talk about it. I'm all over the place today, guys. Sorry. Like always, really, so. But I was working on this at knit night, as I said, and can I just say, not a lot of my knit night ladies are fans of Hannah Fettig. This is the featherweight cardigan by Hannah Fettig that I feel like 20,000 knitters have probably made this cardigan. But they're just not fans of Hannah Fettig. We did a knit along last year of her Georgetown cardigan. I never finished it, but a lot of the ladies had trouble. I didn't like my yarn choices, so I didn't even get very far into the pattern. But a lot of the ladies had issues with the construction because they said her maths weren't tested. They feel like she just adds the numbers to her measurements as opposed to finding people of those actual measurements to test the patterns. I don't know enough about Hannah Fettig's patterns. This is my first one I've knit, so I'm not trying to bash a designer like it would matter because Hannah Fettig's like super popular. I want to knit several of her patterns. So I'm interested to see if you've knit them, did you like your finished garment? And were you overall happy with it? Because I have a sweater's quantity worth of yarn to knit the Rocky Coast cardigan, which is also a Hannah Fettig pattern. And instead of knitting the Rosemont, which calls for worsted, I was going to take the yarn I bought and knit the calligraphy, which calls for a DK, which is more what my yarn is. And if you don't know what these patterns are, again, just look up on Ravelry Hannah Fettig, and she's got a ton of patterns. But again, the Knit Night lady said, I am more her build, so I might not have the problems that they had because they're different builds than I am. My measurements might be Hannah's measurements, is what they were saying. Who knows? Overall, I've tried it on several times, and I plan to try it on for the sleeves because I know a lot of people have had issues with the sleeves decreasing, and I'm muscular, so I'm slim, but it's still, I don't want the sleeves to be super tight on my arms. That's a lot of talking about that project that has not seen that much work. But again, my Miss Brown's bag that I love. And did y'all just see her beeswax kits? I might have gotten one. I'm so excited. Yeah, so what yarn diet? Because all these people, like I keep saying, come out with these amazing kits that I cannot live without. What else? Oh, more patterns that I was gifted. The Cobain by Risen Knits. Thank you so much. I want to knit that. I was watching Cat's Kettles podcast, Katrina, and she just knit that and finished hers. And she used Cotton Knit Picks yarn, and I was like, you can knit that for $20? Oh my gosh, maybe I should knit this. And the next thing I know, Cassandra of the Risen Knits podcast was gifting me the pattern. So thank you so much, Cassandra. I am so excited to knit that. I think you're gonna love the colors that I have in mind for it. But I got some stuff on the needles and I'm not trying to break the yarn bank, as they say. So we'll see when that gets cast on. Another pattern that I was gifted was the Beyond Vanilla sock pattern by Mina Phillips. The knitting expat, you know who Mina is. She just came out with a collection of patterns, Beyond Vanilla. It's like a textured sock pattern. I think there's 4 or 5 socks in the collection, and they're all nature themed, which is just perfect. I love that. And she wanted to not only gift me a copy of her patterns, but gift my viewers a copy too, which is just so beyond nice. And thank you so much, Mina. I really loved Eric's idea, Eric of the Sticks Plus Twine podcast. So I'm stealing it shamelessly, no shame in my game. Eric said to post a picture. So my prompt in my group is going to be go in and post a picture of your favorite socks you've ever knit, or if you've never knit socks, the socks that you most want to knit. And if your favorite socks were gifted to you, that's fine too. You can just post those. Because who doesn't want to look at gorgeous socks in a thread all day? So go do that so you can be entered to win. And I'm going to pause it right here and I'll be back for easy uploading. Thanks. Hey guys, finished objects, because I should have done that first maybe. My Because I Love You is finished. I say my. I knit this for Trella, my 10-year-old. And it's finished. I'll take it off so I can talk about it. So this is how I wear it though. I even wore it to work one day last week. And again, I live in Texas, so it's actually been quite cool. Unseasonably cool, I would say, for Texas. We've had some 50 and 60 degree days most of May, and it's usually at least 80 to 90 most of May. So that's insane. Insane. My kids were swimming the other night. The water was freezing cold and it was windy. I was literally on the little chairs and under the veranda, covered up with one of their towels. I had a sweater on. I was knitting, and my husband's sitting there going, "You look ridiculous. You're completely bundled up." And I'm like, "It's cold. It's cold out here." Where our pool is, we live in a gated community, so we have a clubhouse that has a pool, which is the greatest thing ever. That's about the only thing I like about my HOA, is the fact that we have the clubhouse with the pool that we don't have to take care of. We've owned a home with a pool before, and pool upkeep is the worst. Never own a pool. Like having to pay for the guy to come, and things constantly break, and then the insurance and the safety aspect of your friends coming over and fighting with them about getting their kid in a life jacket. Okay, I'm going to take a tangent. I'm so sorry. Sorry, not sorry. It is Memorial Day weekend. How adorable is it that Canadians call it May Long Weekend? Because their Memorial Day isn't our Memorial Day. It's something else. I have to Google it to see for sure what they celebrate. It's like Victoria Day or something. I don't know. They call it May Long Weekend. That is so cute. I love learning about different cultures on podcasts. While I'm learning about knitting, there's like other little information seeping in all the time. The greatest thing. What was I saying? So I wore my shawl to work. All that to say, it's been cold here. We were up at the pool. It's like on a big hill, so the wind just blows in. I was freezing, wearing knitwear and covered up. My husband thought I was ridiculous, but I wore this shawl to work the other day. I knit this on a size 4 needle, maybe it's a 5. I just pulled that off because I have Hulk strength, guys. I constantly fix these little things back on. Yeah, it's a size 5. My size 5 Cardigans interchangeables. I love Cardigans interchangeables. So I knit this on a size 5, and it's fingering weight, so it's quite airy. I wore this to work the other day with a t-shirt dress, or it was like a lacy dress, but it was cap sleeves like this, and leggings with boots. And a couple of my friends were like, "Aren't you hot? Aren't you hot?" It was probably 68, 72 degrees right in there throughout the day. I was not hot. I stand in the air conditioning. I was actually several times wishing I would have brought a cardigan because I had goosebumps and my arms were cold. So no, I'm a very cold-natured person. It's funny, if it's hot and humid, that's perfect for me, and I want to sit outside. My husband comes out, he's like sweating instantly. Like, no. So I used my beautiful bag by Mandy, the same one that is going to be donated, the same Mandy. She sent me this amazing feather bag. Look at the liner, it matches my yarn. Y'all know I love that. So the yarn I used is Cat's Kettle. I'm all over the place. Cat's Kettle in the Petite Force colorway. This is the best color, guys. If you go to her Etsy, I think this is her most popular color she's been selling lately, and I can see why. It's seriously my favorite. Let me get my needles out of the way. So I finished this last week, and I bought blockers at Knit Night so I could block it, and I wove in the ends, and I wore it to work last week. So I was here 2 weeks ago when I showed you guys the last time I recorded. So I knit all of this. And look at that gorgeous, gorgeous yarn. So look at those colors, guys. This brown here is the Madeline Tosh Pecan Hole colorway, and I feel like it just was perfect to pair with this because it's got shots of brown. It kind of looks like Neapolitan ice cream is what my husband said. as much crap as he's talked about me knitting shawls, when he saw this laying out blocking, he was like, wow, that's really cool looking. I love the picot edging. It kind of bothers me that it rolls up on this side, but I didn't pin that out. I just shoved blocking wires through the picots. So I feel like if I would have actually shoved my T-pins through a couple of places along there, it would fold out better. Like I said, acquisitions. Picked up blocking wires at my local yarn shop when I went to knit night last week. This was so much fun to use. I had not used those before. Had not had reason to block a shawl with blocking wires. But I really love the construction of this, and I'm really happy with it. And Atrella does too. I posted pictures of her wearing it on Instagram, and she just thinks it's the best. So, and I'm doing this completely wrong. So, how I put it on, like this. Now you're gonna watch me fumble with a shawl for a painful amount of time. And then just wrap it, because it's not a shawl. Amy Meeks, the designer, hates the word shawl. She thinks it sounds matronly. So she dubbed this a Because I Love You wrap. It's a wrap. That's why I'm wrapping it around my neck. Like a snake. I love this so much. Isn't that just so much fun? So gorgeous. It's the best. And again, it's not hot at all. I mean, the yarn I used is merino nylon. Both of them were 75-25, I want to say. Maybe 80-20. Don't quote me on those percentages, but it's freaking gorgeous and I love it. I love it. Because I Love You. Atrella's super happy I knit her a shawl, and I don't want her to ever wear it because I can't take it off. What else? I mentioned I ripped out the Dell socks, and I was really wanting to do the Grocery Girls Fancy Feet knit along. So the Dale socks were Fair Isle, and then I thought, well, I've never done cables or beads on socks either. So I cast on for the Hedwig and Friends socks with this yarn, because I was going to do I don't know where I set my beads at, but they're the blue beads, like a dark navy blue. Ravenclaw inspired Hedwig socks. But as soon as I cast this on, everyone is knitting or test knitting Nessa Townley's new pattern, I Heart Bees, with a little honeycomb socks. I'm dream knitting those. I wish I was a tester. I messaged her too late to tell her I'm not a tester, but I would love to test her pattern. And she had already, had enough people. But I am holding my breath in anticipation for this sock pattern to be released. If you don't know what I'm talking about, there's been plenty of people on Instagram knitting this sock, and it's just like I said, a honeycomb textured sock pattern. That's what this needs to be. And this is Sweet Georgia yarns in colorway Creme Brulee, and I've actually had this in stash forever, and it's started to be quite a few things. But now that I know about the honeybee socks, I feel like that's what it's been waiting to be. Does your yarn talk to you? And it's like, no, I don't want to be this. I'm waiting. There's a cardinal right on my chair outside right now. My husband and daughters spent the weekend last weekend while I was at work rearranging our porch and cleaning it and just making it really nice, like a little oasis out there. And I've been seeing a lot of cardinals. I know it's the season for them lately, but they were my mother's favorite bird. And I feel like they've just been I see one nearly every day, it seems. And it almost is like she's sending me the cardinal. Cheesy, I know. But just like a little hello from my mom. So my Because I Love You wrap is finished. I'm completely happy with it. Oh, the socks. That's what I was talking about before the cardinal distracted me. So because I cannot figure out a sock pattern that is challenging, I was looking at everybody else's Pin Feathers and Pearls, and the Fawn Knits, they're also hosting a sock cowl for the cookie jar cowl. So anything by, what is her name? I don't have the pattern printed. I was using my phone. But it is the monkey socks. It's a popular pattern. It's a popular design, sock designer. I don't want to say, it's not CC Almond because that's the one that the Knitting Broomstick is doing. Y'all are hollering it at me. I don't know. The monkey socks. Look, I have a King Tut. That's my whip, is my cuff. I've actually knit probably to there 3 or 4 times. I started these on DPNs and had massive ladders, and I was like, oh, that's a bummer. And then I started them on my tiny circs that I also picked up at Knit Night because Andy is having a tiny circ knit along with the 7-inch circs. I have like troll hands. My hands are huge. I am 5'10", so I mean, I'm not, even though I'm slender, I'm not a small person. I don't feel like a small person. My hands are huge. I wear a size 10 feet. I mean, shoot, my feet are huge. So the tiny circs are just, I feel like I'm like this. It's like I'm having a Talon hand trying to work with them. They're just not for me. And actually DPNs feel clumsy to me now. I am 100% into magic looping one at a time because ain't nobody got time for 2 at a time. So I've also discovered that I've been knitting a lot tighter. Like I said, on my roller, I knit that on a 0. So I sized up. I went to a size 1 for the monkey socks. And I am here with my twisted rib. And this is the Cotopaxi yarn that my mom picked for me to knit her socks. So it's still special. It's still something that I've never tried before, doing some intricate, it's like lace work, right? I mean, I feel like I'm challenged. So that's the point, to challenge yourself, Fancy Feet Cal. Hopefully it's enough to enter. And it's also speckled yarn for the Knitting in the City podcast with, gosh, I'm totally drawing a blank on your name, and I just watched your podcast this morning. I feel totally bad about that. It's on the tip of my tongue. Anyway, it's not Barbara because that's from Knitting I Love. Knitting in the City. Anyway, she's doing a speckled sock along. But I think it ends like June 3rd. This is how far I am. I started these at the beginning of May, technically. My speckled socks were with my Fair Isle that I ripped out. All that to say, I have a cuff of a sock in my beautiful Blue Bonnet Project bag by Suburban Stitcher. And see, I've got my DPNs in here. This I got from Rockabilly Crafts, my DPN case. And on the other side of this bag, I also picked up these beautiful bee stitch markers from my new yarn shop. Aren't those cute? So, I wanted to say something else. Oh, these say to knit these on DPNs, the pattern. So what I did, so I wouldn't have to count my stitches, is I just put stitch markers where the 16 stitches are. So I have 64 total, and does that make sense? That's what my stitch markers are counting. That way when I get to the pattern, I can just fly through it as I would on a DPN without having to do much counting. Another project that I cast on because I could not help myself in my Rockabilly project bag that's so much fun for summer. The summer, Cat's Kettle and Brooklyn Knit Folk are co-hosting a Summer Lovin' Knit Along. They just encourage you to make anything summer themed. So I'm knitting the Succo Stripe Tank by Quinson Co. Pam Allen. I love it. I love it. Mine is going to be dark with light stripes instead of light with dark stripes. And I cast on. I did knit a swatch. And this says to knit on straights. And I actually bought straights for this project. They're up there. I did not like knitting with them. And I didn't see any reason why they couldn't be on a circular. Could you help me with that? Maybe you've knit the sucker stripes and there's some special reason why it can't be on a circular. Tell me now before I get any further and I will put it back on a straight. But I just wasn't enjoying the straights being in my way. They were like hitting my arm while I was knitting. This is linen Quince & Co. Sparrow linen yarn, and it is so much fun to work with. Atrella was feeling it and she was like, oh, that's kind of weird and crunchy, but I really like the texture. And I know it will soften up because, I mean, we have linens and when we got them, they feel nothing like they do now. So I really do want to knit on this a lot, but I am trying to be good and get my shawls off the needles that have been on the needles for months, like my Mother's Day shawl. And the next whip I'm going to show you, if you follow me on Instagram, you will have seen this, kind of spoil alert, but are you ready, guys? I have made brioche ma biche. Look at that. Look. I can brioche. It is perfect, guys. I have way too many stitches for some reason. Michelle finished up her exploration station, or she's finishing it up, and she said that she had so many extra stitches. After my wedge section, I counted, and I was actually like 100 more stitches than I was supposed to, or 50 or something ridiculous. I don't know what happened. I don't know. How do you add that many more stitches? But look, I can brioche, and on the other side it's perfect. Look at that. I want to brioche all the things. Have y'all seen Candace's Sizzle Pop Shawl? Okay, that looks intense, but I want to knit it. And there's yarn at the new yarn store that would look perfect in that. So I'm just going to keep doing this because this was my epic progress of this week that made me feel like I was 10 feet tall and I could accomplish anything because, guys, I knit this brioche. I have about, I think, 8 more rows to do, so nothing. I will get that done this afternoon as this is uploading, move on to the next section, and even though the rows are going to be huge, I feel like all the rest of it's going to be easy peasy knitting compared to this. Oh my gosh, you guys, look at it. Brioche, Amber can knit brioche. So that's the wrong side, and that's the right side. Isn't it insane? It's so neon. That's the best. I love it. My bag almost knocked over my tea. I won't spend a lot of time talking about my yarns just because I've gone over them before, and I'll probably do that at the very end when I get done with it. But you know what that pattern is. It's the Exploration Station by Stephen West. It was supposed to be a knit along with Sticks Plus Twine. I think it ended the beginning of May. I'm way behind. I don't mind. I will get it finished, and it was fun to be inspired to knit along by the Cal. So what else? I am to the end of my whips. Hooray! I did want to show this. This is my blocking mat. So it got some Instagram love this week because it's so pretty in the wooden floors. I have a set of 4 of these, so they're all 4 this size. And they all snap together, of course, because, you know, that's what they do. I got them at Walmart for $10. Check your Walmart, people. Check your Walmart. They were in like the home by the vacuum section. And I might pick up some more to do bigger shawls. But if you lay them out, and then sometimes I just pin things in the carpet with a towel, that works too. You don't even have to have more. But I will show you my acquisitions now because you knew there were some. Oh. Yeah. First, I'm going to show you some of the girls' whips. So Atrella made this. It's a paper towel tube, and she just painted it to look like a nutcracker. Isn't that adorable? This is what my 10-year-old does with her free time. She takes trash and turns it into works of art. I just love that. He is so cute. And then Prudence, my 5-year-old, is really into painting, and she painted this. As I said, we've had some cruddy weather lately. It's been raining and it's been cold, and she was totally inspired by that and painted this picture that I'm gonna have framed. So I love that my daughters are creative and spend a lot of time crafting, because that means that I can sit and quietly craft with them. So I'm gonna stop it right here, and then I'm gonna show you guys my acquisitions. Be right back. All right, I am back again. I'm looking down at my notes to make sure I've covered everything. Oh, I had a couple of questions. Dang it. I will get back to one of them next time, because I actually forgot to bring my favorite thing I've ever knit was one of my questions on my Ask Me. I said I had an Ask Me Anything thread, and I had one question put in that thread, but then one question was just left as a comment on my last video from Barbara, Knitting I Love. Hi, Barbara. She asked me what my favorite thing I ever knit was, and I will show you guys that next time. And I had another question from Ruby on Ravelry, and I actually clicked her profile just to check her out and know more about her. She lives in Waxahachie, guys. Waxahachie, Texas is where I went to high school. It's where I met my husband. It's where we bought our first house. It's where my mom and his parents live. My mom lived. His parents currently live. So what a small world. Isn't that crazy? I just thought that was crazy. She asked, other than knitting, what do I like to do? I love being outside. I love camping. I love gardening. I cannot have a garden where I am currently at due to we can't have a fence, and we have too many animals that get into our garden. Our HOA is really strict, and they're anti-fence. How ridiculous is that, right? Anyhow, I love gardening. We have a couple of container pots going right now. I hope to add more. I'm looking right there because that's my porch. I love hiking. I love walking my dogs. I love going out on the boat. I love canoeing. I mean, just being outside is my favorite. So living where we live is just perfect. We have a lot of hiking trails, and just, it's very nature rich and very peaceful. So what a great question. Thanks for that. I also read, but not as much as I would like to. I read a lot more years ago before knitting consumed my life. And I always say I'm going to get back to it, and then I just knit instead. I do listen to books I've read before on audio tape. Isn't that weird? Like, I feel like I can't. Listening to a book on audio tape is cheating unless I've read it before. I'm ridiculous about the weirdest things, guys. So anyhow, one more thing I wanted to say. I owe an apology to my friend Michael at Apto Knits. He and the Penguin Coffee Clutch podcast. He sent me an amazing gift because I was complaining about not having a shawl pin. And he sent me one. This amazing bone shawl pin that my daughter dubbed it the unicorn horn shawl pin. I thought that was the cutest thing. But Michael, I'm sorry, because I was careless with your gift, and when I came home from work, I took my shawl pin out, set it down on the coffee table, clearly not thinking, because my puppy, Roger, the one I just posted an Instagram video of running down the stairs, he grabbed it and gnawed and completely tore it up. So, I suck. I'm sorry. I'm the worsted. And that just broke my little heart. And my husband was like, what do you expect? It's made of bone. They were like, oh, look at this wonderful treat you left me. That was just quite a bit of sadness. Moving right along, I want to show you guys, I've kind of showed you guys a few things I got from her. So this, what the felt? Just to recap, I also got some gum, Boss Lady, cinnamon gum. I love cinnamon. Cinnamon's my favorite gum mint. That's what I like. Chew them up and spit them out. I'll be using that at work this weekend. And look. She sent me this macaroon. It's a little macaroon. And inside, she makes these. She makes a bunch of different ones. I'll actually show you some. But she makes a snitch progress keeper. And I showed you guys her Deathly Hallows charm, And I had actually been searching for a shop that held those, and she sent me one. And I have this bracelet that I got from vintageroseloves.com. I actually picked it up at Stitches last September. And this bracelet has a beautiful heart clasp. And then do you see? It came with the bells. Or I think I bought the bracelet. The bracelet was $12, and I think I bought the bell stitch markers. And I've since added different charms and stitch markers that friends have sent me. So I'm gonna take it off so I can show you guys easier. So not all of them, and I change them out all the time too. So I can think of different friends. So she also sent me this one. It's a little bug. Can you guys see that? A VW bug. Mina sent me the scissors. I love those crane scissors. I have several sets. Laura of the Fawn Knit sent me this knitting sweater. Melissa, again, of Knitty by Nature. The little tweet came from her, and also this raven, because I'm a Ravenclaw. And she's even got a navy button on there, or a bead. So I love this snitch, and I love my Deathly Hollows, and I'm going to be wearing those to work tonight on my bracelet. And I really like, sporting my little knitwear kind of secretly, but if anyone takes the time to look at my bracelet, they can see, what my passion and hobby is, because I'm wearing it very plainly. And now I've added some Harry Potter nerdiness, which is right up. Look at that. Look at the snitch. And she also sent me this one too. I like it. It's kind of like Alice in Wonderland. Ooh. Swirl. So thank you so much, Melissa. That was so awesome. Go check out her shop and get yourself some Harry Potter stitch markers. You know you want them. You know you want them. Another thing that I've done is recently had a swap with Candace of the Pin Feathers and Pearls podcast. So she sent me a bunch of fun stuff. Let me show you guys. I got some peppermint chocolate soap. Peppermint's one of my favorite scents. It smells so good. Thank you. Fun little sticky notes that are the little clouds, speaking clouds. I love these. These are so cute and handy for knitters. My girls want these, and I told them we could share because I'm a nice mama. But I'm totally going to put these on some of my notes that go out. I love stickers, and these are so much fun. Prudence wants all the elephants. Elephants are her favorite. Elephants and leopards. She also sent me this box of teas, iced teas. And this is going to be so great for going to the pool this summer with the girls. I always take a drink, and these are going to be so tasty and refreshing. I've got a juicy orange, pink lemonade, and electric lemonade. And I love the box. We don't have a David's Tea near us. I think I've said that before, but I am going to put in an online order because look what else she sent me. Some Christmas crack. Santa's secret, because it is the most delicious tea I've ever had in my life. And I'm going to get one of those giant containers for Christmas. So thank you, Candace. And can I just say that I love your turtle sticky note? That tribal turtle. Tim and I went to Hawaii a few years ago. I say a few, several, 6, 7 years ago. And we nearly got a tribal turtle tattoo for our trip because we went snorkeling and saw a bunch of sea turtles. But we couldn't find all the people in Hawaii wanted to charge an exorbitant amount of money for a tiny little tattoo that we wanted. And we also didn't want to lose any beach or swim time healing from a tattoo on our trip. So we decided to wait till we get back, and we never got the tattoos. But I love sea turtles, and I always remember my time in Hawaii fondly when I see them on anything, so that's cool. She also sent me a gorgeous collection of minis that I've kind of rustled around. She had them all perfectly lined up, of course, and I was reaching in here and showing Etrella some of the colors. Let me stack them back like she had them. Aww. Minis of yarn. So a couple of these I really love. Like this one. What's this, Candace? I almost want to say, I'm probably wrong, but Deck the Halls, Full and Vine, is that what this is? It almost looks like that. I've never had it, but just seeing her yarn online. And then I really like this one. I don't know what it is. It feels more rustic than your typical merino, so maybe it's Blueface Leicester? I don't know. I like it. I like both of those a lot. I like all of them, but those are my favorites out of the bunch. And she made me some stitch markers and sent me some. So I have like Candace themed Yoshi. He's going on my bracelet for work. Yoshi. Isn't that adorable? A moon. She's like, there's a Sailor Moon anime thing she's into. I'm not sure what this is, but I love the bunny. My girls, I don't know if I've mentioned this, but their mascot is the jackrabbit, so we love bunnies. And then I have an owl. Aren't those adorable? Thank you so much, Candace. I really love the moon and the Yoshi and the bunny and the owl. Really, they're all four like the best. What else? Oh, that's not all, guys. So that was my swap with Candace. That was so much fun. And I actually have a couple of prize packages to get out coming up. So if you want to do a swap, I think that I'll do 1 or 2 swaps. So if you message me and I say, okay, let's swap, awesome. If I say, I'm sorry, somebody's already messaged me, please don't hate me. Because I don't like to get overwhelmed and it's hard for me to say no to people, but I've learned saying no is better than being overwhelmed and slammed and not being a joyful swap person. So 1 or 2 people, reach out. If you want to swap, I would love to do a swap. I've got some stuff to get out and it'd be so much fun to put together a package for you. So I mentioned on my last recording 2 weeks ago that I was really hoping to make a particular shop update, and I had to be at work. The same time she was updating her shop, I was clocking in, and I was on my phone. I have the world's worst cell reception out here in general, but especially at work, and our internet connection isn't that great anyway because of where we live. We just don't get the 4G service that most phone carriers provide. I'm lucky to get 3Gs or whatever the terminology is. I'm no tech expert. So I'm sitting there refreshing on my phone, walking around outside in the parking lot because that's way better reception than in the building, trying like heck to score one of these bags because ever since I've been following Laura of the Fawn Knits, I have, like last summer, I've been following her for a year and have coveted this particular bag. And she had some really fun colors. And I was trying to look up the dimensions and interior on those because I didn't want a huge bag, but I didn't want a small bag. That was dumb because then, bags are being sold like that. And I was like, okay, I just need to cart something before they're all gone. So I cart a bag, I go to the checkout, and I got carjacked. I take a deep breath and I go back and I'm refreshing and I just cart another bag without even reading, without even really looking at it, and then just go to the checkout. And luckily I checked out. Everything was fine. I got my confirmation and then I went back. You know how on Etsy, once something's sold, you can't see the item anymore, but if you viewed it previously, you can still see it. So all the bags I clicked on were still viewable. I clicked on all of them. I got the bag that I would have wanted the most out of all of those bags. I got a dimension I wanted, and the interior is beautiful, and the exterior is amazing as well. So I'm just going to shut up and show you guys because that's enough talking about it. Oh my God. Yes. Laura of the Fawn and the Fox Etsy shop is the one that does the tree print bags. And her husband actually met in art school. Gosh, go read their bio, you guys. on their Instagram. That just filled me with such like warm, fuzzy feelings. They met in art school and got married and make things together. I'm such a nerd, but the Fawn and the Fox. This is super nice, ridiculously durable canvas material. It's gonna last a lifetime. The paint on here, okay, can we talk about that? So she had some hot pink ones, and those were initially the ones I was after because like, pow. However, this is gonna match way more projects over time. I think it's just so classy and elegant, and it's not even, okay, is that showing? Oh, look at that. Look at the metallic paint in this. It's got depths of color. There's another little like metallic paint job there. Isn't this, I mean, guys, you guys. I know I'm ridiculous, but I freaking love this bag so much. I love it, Laura. You are amazing. You and Michael. Look at that. Look at that. I just love that little metallic pop. Guys, oh, and the interior. So it's got this really nice navy zipper. And her lines, guys, are just so clean and amazing. Like her stitching. And the inside. So again, this isn't a huge bag, but it isn't a small one either. It's perfect for all my sweater projects. And I have quite a bit of sweaters, quantities of yarn, and more sweaters planned. So the inside is this. I don't know if it's hand dyed, Laura, is it? But it looks it. It's like this splotchy blue material. Isn't that beautiful? And the reason I say it's hand dyed because it's lighter on this side and definitely more speckled on that. Isn't that gorgeous? Oh my God. Let me see if I can pull it out. That's got to be hand dyed, right? This bag is a work of art, and I am so beyond grateful to own one. And I'm so glad that I made that shop update. So go get yourself a one-of-a-kind piece of art. And she even says that, you know, these are made to order, and sometimes there's like a little splotch of paint or something outside where it's supposed to be. That to me adds to the effect because the imperfections are what make us human. And you know, like people, the Amish put in little pieces on their quilts that are, or I know who was just talking about this. It was Jess of Disastrously Domestic. She was talking about the Native Americans putting in spirit beads to their beadwork and just like having one bead off. To me, like having a little bit of paint outside, totally, and I mean like, look at that. That's not even anything. So, Laura, this is amazing. Okay, now I'm gonna have to rush through this because I gushed about the bag. Oh, I totally forgot to show this. It was hiding in my other thing. Candace sent me this too. Candace, you sent me this beautiful thing of yarn, sunshine yarns. And I'll show you why it was in this bag in just a second. Look how gorgeous that is. And it's 100% merino, superwash merino, 450 yards, color moonstones. That is so much fun. Okay, so I've gone to knit night 2 times. I don't get to go tonight because I'm working. Wah wah, I'm working all weekend. The first time I went to knit night, I got these 2 beautiful skeins of yarn, called my name, and begged to come home with me, even though I had no idea what they were going to be. And I'm not so much a neutrals person, but this just spoke to me. And this too with it. And this colorway is actually a lot like that I'm using for the border. It's really similar. Almost the same. This one's a little bit more greeny blue, and this one's more cool blue. So anyhow, I got these, didn't know what they were gonna be. This is Wonderland Yarns in their Cheshire Cat sock fingering weight. It's 100% superwash wool and 512 yards. It is so smushy and just amazing. Look at that. I just love that 2-ply. I think this is going to be so much fun to knit with. So this is colorway Wells of Fancy, and this one's Goat Beard. And again, Wonderland Yarns, Cheshire Cat. And she's got a lot of Wonderland yarns in there, and they're so beautiful. And then I also got this skein of yarn for contrasting heels and toes for all my self-stripings. And this is just a Heritage Cascade yarn, sock yarn, 75 superwash merino, 25% nylon. And it is also very squishy and soft, very comparable, I feel like, to Knit Picks, and very cost friendly. This skein was $11 and it's 437 yards. And while I did originally get this to knit heels and toes on socks, as soon as Candace sent me this, I was like, oh my gosh, that would be such a cute shawl. Like maybe the messenger, I think it's called, this being the mesh portion and this being the garter. I don't know. I feel like this needs to be a shawl. Maybe a Windy Sky shawl. I don't know. Well, that's to be decided. And then when I went back to knit night, I had to get the blocking wires because I finished my shawl. So I picked these up. I also got the tiny circs because I felt like I needed these. The bee stitch markers I got the first time. And then I also decided once I got home with these skeins of yarn, it would be the best Stripes Gone Crazy. So I bought this pattern from the in-store Ravelry, which is the greatest thing to do because then she actually put it in the sleeve for me. I get a printed copy of my pattern in color. I don't have to fight with my husband and his complaining about me using his ink or his paper or his color, or always going to buy the in-store patterns now. And I needed another skein of the gray to be enough for the cardigan. And she only had one more skein of the gray. So it was kismet, you guys. It was meant to be that I knit this. And again, this is my West 7th wool. Look at the bag. Look at the Lego. My West 7th wool sweater. Even though there's probably several other sweaters quantities in there, we don't need to let that stop us from buying gorgeous sweaters of yarn, do we, guys? I am going to have all the fingering weight sweaters, I've decided, and probably chastise myself for doing it in the process. It's like knitting the featherweights taking me forever. As soon as I'm done with it, I want to cast on the vitamin D. Also, it's a sport weight, but I have fingering weight for that cardigan. And then the Stripes Gone Crazy is a fingering weight cardigan. You guys, I need to knit like a worsted DK weight cardigan, something like that. That's all I have for you guys. Was that all my acquisitions? What else is in here? Here's my note from Candace. Did I tell you guys one of my favorite things about swaps is seeing my friend's handwriting? I don't want to show you guys the note because it's for me, but that is. Oh, look, you can see her handwriting on the. Just seeing people's handwriting is one of my favorite things because you don't always see that with your online friends. Sorry for rustling that sack. I wanted to grab Laura's card too, just because I think it's so cute. The fawn and the fox. And all her information for that project bag. And guys, I need a sponsor that I can message when I'm thinking of buying yarn or bags and say, stop me, stop me. This morning it might have happened again. That darndo grocery girls made me do it. Jody has the best staff and I've got no shame. Yarn makes me happy. So that's all. Thanks for joining me this week. Hopefully I didn't get too rambly or crazy. I've covered all my notes that are buried now. Yeah, I think I've covered everything. Thanks, guys. See y'all next time, and happy knitting. Be sure to come over and enter into the Beyond Vanilla sock pattern giveaway. Again, I'll have a thread, and the prompt will be, show me your favorite socks. And also, if you've knit anything from April to May for your mom, enter that and be eligible for a prize. Even if you haven't finished it, put it in the chatter thread and I will draw from each of those. So thanks so much. Come join me on the Ravelry Yarn Junkie podcast group, _Yarn Junkie on Instagram, and those are really the only places I am active. There's a Yarn Junkie Facebook page, but I don't really post stuff to it. So thanks guys, bye. So knitting content is done. I know I said bye to you guys, but then I remembered I was supposed to show you my friend, my snake friend. If that's not your thing, it was over. It was over a while ago. Turn it off, go away. You don't want to see the snake. He's actually crawling up the chair right now because he's in my lap. But if it's your thing and you want to check him out and hear me talk about him for a second, stick around, guys. My snake is the coolest pet in the world. Snakes are one of the easiest pets to take care of, I think. You spot clean their cage after they eat. I clean out the tank completely, probably 6 times a year. I take all the shavings, all the stuff out, wipe it down really good. Otherwise, I just spot clean it, wipe the windows down really good with like a vinegar cleaner mix that I make. I make a lot of my cleaner because I'm a nerd like that. Freshwater weekly, and then he eats usually about 6 to 8 rats a year, depending on how hungry he is. When he was smaller, it was a lot more consistent. Now that he's grown so much, he hibernates a lot in the winter months, and he doesn't eat at all. He just stays still, and he's just not hungry. You'll throw a rat in there, and he'll just ignore it. So he eats live rats, large live rats. I have to drive an hour and a half to the pet store to buy these rats. The pet store that's close to me, not close, 45 minutes away, is a PetSmart, and they're morally opposed to selling feeder mice. They will sell you feeder fish, they will sell you feeder insects, but not feeder rodents. That makes no sense to me. Petco has no such moral objections, and I buy most of our rats there after I leave knit night. It's kind of convenient. I go back across town, hit up the Petco, and then Ringo has a snack before bedtime. He actually just ate last week, a week ago, and he's pretty murky and gray because not every time he eats he sheds, but I would say every 2 times he eats he sheds, and when he sheds he usually grows a little. He's mostly full grown, but I think that he'll get a little thicker and maybe a little longer. This particular breed, he's a lesser Mojave color morph, a ball python. They do not grow 6 feet long. He'll get about 4.5 feet at full length and not much wider than he is now. So he'll never eat baby bunnies or anything like that. But here he is, and again, his color is usually much more vibrant than that. He is actually, I don't know if he'll let you see his eyes, but if you can kind of see, they're milky gray. So, see how gray his eye is? That means he's going to shed. So their eyes turn this glassy color, and their bodies kind of lose their luster and sheen. He is one of the prettiest snakes I've ever seen. I really like his markings. The lesser Mojave color morph, that's what his markings mean. So we bought him from a snake breeder down in Austin. It's been about 5 or 6 years. My 5-year-old was 4 months old, and she'll be 6 in November. So we've had him for quite a while, and the most expensive thing to do for a snake is the initial setup. Once you have his tank, and we went with the biggest tank because we felt like, why buy a small tank now and then have to get a big tank later? We just bought a big tank. We have updated his habitat, so the little thing that he lays in most of the day has grown with him because they like to feel enclosed and it has to be his size. So it started out really small, and now it's this big mock turtle shell that we got at a pet store. You have to be really careful with what you put in his tank. He's had a couple of little decorative items penetrate him because he's squeezed around them, or he's been rubbing against it to itch some of his shed skin off. and he's actually gotten stuck or had things poke him. I try to buy male rats when I feed him. Female rats fight a lot harder. Male rats are more accepting of their fate, and anytime he's been injured, it's been by a female rat. So he's been bit and scratched where it's broken his skin before. But even those injuries, snakes are very resilient. When he was punctured by one of his habitat decorations, he was actually punctured. We took him to a vet, and they didn't really do a lot for him. And they said that snakes their tissue will close it up and they'll heal. And they do. And it's like way cheaper than having a dog, because, I've had my dogs rip their nail beds off, and it's kind of a costly thing to go to take them to the vet for that. And they just do that to themselves, hurt themselves like that. That's not even their flea and heartworm preventative, all that stuff that goes into having a dog. You don't have to do any of that with a snake. And the kids love him. Anytime we have other children come over, this is the thing that they want to look at and love. Of course, the parents have a lot of issues. Most people are like, oh, we're good if he stays in there. I do put him on my neck a lot when I'm doing housework and cleaning. I don't like to do it. He's completely handcuffed me. I don't like to do it with my hair down because he wraps himself in my hair and then it gets tangled up. But I will shove my hair up and put him around my neck like I wear him throughout the house. So, yeah, if you've ever thought about having a snake, you should get one. We actually got my niece a snake after we had ours for 3 years. She came over all the time. She really wanted one. This is my husband's sister's daughter. She really wanted one. She's a year older than my daughter, my oldest. And we talked to her mom one year and said, hey, would you mind if we got her a snake for Christmas? We'll buy the setup. And she said no, and she didn't mind. And we got her a snake, and she is the happiest kid now with that snake. She named it Sacco. Our snake is Ringo. Did I say that? Ringo Starr. We're big Beatles fans in this house. And yeah, I'm glad that y'all wanted to see him. If you didn't want to see him, I'm sorry. You're not even here, so I don't know who I'm apologizing to. But they're tree snakes, so this is what he really likes, to just he loves my body heat. He does have a little heater in his tank, and he lays on that a lot because they're cold-blooded creatures. But he loves me to hold him because he gets warmth from me. And I do give him baths in our bathtub when he gets like this, where he's about to shed, and it looks like he's having a hard time, or if he's eaten recently and he hasn't pooped, because they have to defecate after each meal. And sometimes they can get impacted just by different things, and taking a warm bath will help with that. So I've given him lots of baths in our tub. He loves to swim around in the bath. And yeah, I really enjoy having a snake. I would not have a tarantula or any other sort of creepy crawlies. I've actually had quite a few nightmares about owning a gallery of snakes. So the guy we bought this from actually owned a pet store that had a bunch of different snake tanks with I think he owned somewhere around 100 different snake breeds. I've had nightmares where snakes have gotten out. Actually, our snake got out once. We have this terrarium that closes in the front and latches on the bottom. There's these 2 doors, and if you don't latch it, it can just easily be pushed open. So one night, Roger, my little dog, woke me up frantically barking in the middle of the night. And I was like, I started to run upstairs because he's standing at the top of the stairs barking. And then I was just startled because this guy is crawling up the stairs. And that's what Roger was barking at. He had busted out of his tank. That's the only time he's ever escaped. And that was just a funny story. But I've had nightmares where we've had a collection of snakes that a few of them have been poisonous and escaped and bitten me. Yeah. I don't know. I have had the same dream 3 times since having him. But that's all, guys. Say bye to Ringo. Thanks so much for joining me. and I'll catch y'all next time. Happy knitting!